Sometimes the death of a man makes us reflect on our shared humanity, but other times it brings a sense of relief, even satisfaction. Mussolini's death on April 28, 1945 was one such moment, a fitting end to a wretched life. The man who once dreamt of restoring ancient Rome's glory became a lifeless body in a Milan square, with a furious crowd cursing, kicking, and spitting on his remains. His and his mistress, Clara Petacci's bodies were hung upside down, a grim testament to his fall. But what led to his fall? And how did he die? Well, let's get started. And remember to let us know in the comments what topics you'd like us to cover next. The fall of fascist Italy. In 1945, Italy was devastated by war. The Allied forces had successfully invaded Sicily in 1943 and were advancing northward through the Italian peninsula. The Italian military was in disarray, and the nation's infrastructure lay in ruins due to relentless bombing campaigns. The socio-political landscape was equally chaotic, with widespread civil unrest and resistance against the fascist regime. The northern part of the country was still under Nazi control, leading to further conflicts and resistance efforts by Italian partisans. The once formidable Axis powers, comprising Germany, Italy, and Japan, were losing ground rapidly, and Mussolini's dreams of a restored Roman Empire were shattering. By this time, Mussolini's power had reduced considerably. His initial rise to power in 1922, marked by promises of restoring Italy's grandeur and economic stability, had given way to widespread disillusionment. The disastrous military campaigns, especially the invasion of Greece and the ill-fated North African campaigns, severely undermined his credibility. The alliance with Nazi Germany further alienated many Italians who opposed Hitler's extreme ideologies and the war's catastrophic impact on Italy. In July 1943, Mussolini was deposed by his own Grand Council of Fascism and subsequently arrested on the orders of King Victor Emmanuel III. This coup reflected the deep-seated dissatisfaction and the desire for change within the highest echelons of Italian power. However, Mussolini was rescued from captivity by German paratroopers in a daring operation led by Otto Skorzeny and installed as the puppet leader of the Italian Social Republic in northern Italy, under the firm control of Nazi Germany. Despite this nominal leadership, Mussolini's influence was largely symbolic, as real power lay with the German occupiers. As the Allies advanced, it became increasingly clear that Mussolini's regime was doomed. By April 1945, Allied forces had broken through the Gothic line, and the partisans were intensifying their efforts to liberate northern Italy. Facing inevitable defeat and fearing retribution from the partisans and the general populace, Mussolini fled. Accompanied by his mistress, Clara Petacci, and a small entourage, Mussolini attempted to escape to neutral Switzerland. They joined a German convoy retreating towards the Swiss border, hoping to evade capture. Disguised in German uniforms, they approached Dongo, a small town near Lake Como. The capture. On April 27, 1945, the convoy reached the small village of Dongo, located near the northern shores of Lake Como. The partisans in the area, members of the Italian resistance movement, were actively patrolling the roads and intercepting fleeing fascist and Nazi officials. Among them was Urbano Lazzaro, a partisan leader who played a key role in the capture. The partisans stopped the convoy for inspection, and upon recognizing several high-ranking Italian officials, they grew suspicious. The partisans, known as partigiani in Italian, were members of the Italian resistance movement that emerged during World War II. They were a diverse group of individuals, including communists, socialists, liberals, monarchists, and ordinary citizens, united by a common goal: to overthrow the fascist regime and to liberate Italy from Nazi occupation. The movement gained significant momentum after Mussolini's initial downfall in 1943 and the subsequent German occupation of northern Italy. The partisans operated in small, mobile units and utilized guerrilla warfare tactics, striking swiftly against fascist and Nazi targets, and then disappearing into the rugged Italian countryside. Their knowledge of the local terrain and widespread civilian population support allowed them to conduct effective sabotage operations, disrupt supply lines, and gather critical intelligence for the Allied forces. Significantly, the partisans also played a crucial role in fostering a sense of national unity and resistance among Italians. Their actions inspired countless others to join the fight against oppression and tyranny. The partisans' determination and bravery were instrumental in weakening the fascist hold on Italy and hastening the end of the war in Europe. On this day, as the partisans meticulously examined the convoy, Mussolini's attempt to blend in as a German soldier failed. His identity was soon exposed when they found documents and recognized his face. The news of Mussolini's capture spread rapidly among the partisans, who understood the monumental significance of their success. He was detained, along with Clara Petacci, and taken to a nearby farmhouse for questioning. The execution. After the partisans in Dongo captured Mussolini and his entourage on April 27, 1945, the fate of the deposed dictator quickly became a matter of intense deliberation among the partisan leadership. The Italian resistance, comprised of various factions united against fascism, viewed Mussolini as the embodiment of the suffering and destruction inflicted upon their country. His brutal regime had led to countless atrocities and deep-seated resentment among the Italian populace. Several factors influenced the decision to execute Mussolini. First and foremost was the desire to ensure that he could not escape or be rescued by remaining Nazi forces. Additionally, there was a profound need to deliver immediate justice for the crimes committed under his rule. The partisan leaders recognized that a public trial might become a protracted and contentious affair, potentially inciting further violence and division within an already fractured nation. The orders for Mussolini's execution came from the National Liberation Committee for Northern Italy, or the CLNAI, the de facto government of the Italian resistance in the liberated territories. The directive was clear. Mussolini and his close associates were to be executed swiftly to prevent any chance of their survival or a resurgence of fascist sympathies. The task of carrying out the execution fell to Walter Audisio, a partisan commander known by his alias Colonel Valerio. Audisio was chosen for his proven loyalty, leadership, and commitment to the cause of resistance. On the morning of April 28, 1945, Audisio, accompanied by a small group of partisans, transported Mussolini and Clara Petacci to the village of Giuliano di Mesegra. The execution site was a quiet spot near a villa, chosen for its relative seclusion to avoid immediate public chaos, but sufficiently accessible to allow the bodies to be displayed afterward as a powerful statement. As Mussolini and Petacci stood before the firing squad, Audisio read out the death sentence. Mussolini reportedly attempted to speak, but his words were cut short as Audisio and his men raised their weapons. Audisio later recounted the moment of the execution with a stark sense of duty and resolve. He fired the first shots, followed by his comrades, ensuring Mussolini was killed instantly. Clara Petacci, who had remained loyal to Mussolini until the very end, met the same fate. Despite offers to spare her life, she refused to leave Mussolini's side, choosing to die with him. Although steeped in a complex personal and political relationship, her unwavering loyalty added a tragic dimension to the final moments. The public display. Following their execution on April 28, 1945, the bodies of Benito Mussolini, Clara Petacci, and several other high-ranking fascist officials were transported from the site of their execution in Giuliano di Mesegra to Milan. The decision to display the bodies in Piazzale Loreto was filled with historical significance. Piazzale Loreto was the site where, in August 1944, 15 partisans had been executed, and their bodies publicly displayed by fascist forces as a gruesome warning to resistance fighters. Arriving in Milan on the morning of April 29th, the bodies were dumped unceremoniously in the square. Mussolini's corpse, along with those of Petacci and other executed fascists, was hung upside down from the metal framework of a service station canopy. The use of the upside-down display was both a practical measure to prevent the bodies from being torn apart by the crowd and a symbolic act of humiliation, stripping Mussolini of any remnants of dignity or power. The display of Mussolini's body elicited an immediate and intense reaction from the public. News of the dictator's death and the location of his body spread rapidly, and soon, crowds of Italians gathered in Piazzale Loreto. For many, This moment represented a long-awaited release after years of oppression, war, and suffering under Mussolini's fascist regime. The crowd's reaction was a mixture of jubilation, anger, and a desire for retribution. People spat on the bodies, kicked them, and hurled insults. Some individuals took it further, beating the corpses with sticks and even firing bullets into Mussolini's lifeless body. The scene was chaotic and brutal, reflecting the pent-up rage and frustration of a population that had endured severe hardships and atrocities. The desecration of the bodies, while gruesome, was a spontaneous and emotional expression of collective emotion. It underscored the deep hatred many Italians felt toward Mussolini and his collaborators, who were seen as responsible for the nation's suffering and destruction. This public outpouring of anger was a form of retributive justice, allowing ordinary citizens to take part in the dictator's downfall symbolically. The public display and desecration of Mussolini's body served as a powerful act of symbolic justice. It was a definitive rejection of fascism and a clear statement that Mussolini's era of terror was over. By hanging Mussolini's body upside down, the partisans and the public reversed the dictator's former position of power and authority, reducing him to a symbol of defeated tyranny. This act of public retribution had a profound impact on the Italian psyche. It provided a moment of collective release and a sense of closure for those who had suffered under fascist rule. The visceral display of justice was both a warning to any future would-be dictators and a reassurance to the Italian people that the nightmare of fascism had ended. Moreover, the events at Piazzale Loreto highlighted the deep divisions within Italian society and the complex nature of post-war reconciliation. While many celebrated Mussolini's downfall, others were troubled by the brutality of the display. The public desecration of the bodies raised questions about the nature of justice and the line between retribution and vengeance. Aftermath and legacy. Following the dramatic execution and public display of Benito Mussolini's body in Piazzale Loreto, Milan on April 29, 1945, the fate of his remains continued to be a point of contention and fascination. After the public heresy, the bodies of Mussolini, Clara Petacci, and other executed fascists were removed by the authorities. Initially, they were buried in unmarked graves in the Musocco Cemetery, a suburb of Milan, in an attempt to prevent further public outrage or martyrdom. Despite these efforts, Mussolini's body did not rest in peace. On Easter Sunday, April 22, 1946, a fascist loyalist named Domenico Lecisi, along with two accomplices, exhumed Mussolini's remains from the Musocco Cemetery. The body was moved several times as authorities sought to recover it and prevent it from becoming a symbol for neo-fascist movements. After the exhumation by Lecisi, Mussolini's body was hidden in various locations, including a monastery, as the authorities worked to locate and secure the remains. This cat-and-mouse game with Mussolini's corpse continued until August 1957, when, under the government of Prime Minister Oddone Zoli, it was decided to allow Mussolini's family to bury him in his hometown of Predappio. Predappio, located in the Emilia-Romagna region, was the birthplace of Mussolini and had been transformed into a site of pilgrimage by fascists even during his lifetime. Mussolini's final resting place became the family crypt in the San Cassiano Cemetery. The tomb was designed to be inconspicuous and secure, reflecting the continued sensitivity surrounding Mussolini's legacy. So, what do you think Mussolini's execution says about justice and the consequences of tyranny? Please let us know in the comments section below, and remember to like and share. Also, hit the subscribe button to get notifications on the latest uploads on the channel. As always, see you in the following video.